All very much for coming here today, and we're going to breeze through this in about 4.5 hours. We'll probably do a little bit better than that because so many of you have worked the polls before. Who's been a poll worker before?
30
Very
years.
nice. 30 years. Congratulations. Well, let's make it 31.
38.
38. She's got your beat, and her husband's got his picture on the wall. So she's got that going for her.
He hasn't been working that long.
So this is the poll worker class, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with what we do as poll workers. Really nothing's changed. The machines are the same, the poll books are the same. The only thing that's really kind of unique about this election this time is it is a partisan primary election where you can declare what kind of ballot you have and which one you've selected, and respectively what party you're aligning yourselves with. So other than that, I think you're going to see a lot of familiarity with the things that we've done in the past as poll workers. I'll show you how to do that. Before I do, let me give you some statistics on provisional voting. In the last election, there were about 11,120 of these provisional ballots cast. Of those 11,000, 95 and change, 9,500, were acceptable and went in the correct precinct. Everything was signed and filled out properly, and there were no problems. So that's a pretty good success rate. Almost 86% were filled out correctly. But another 14% were thrown out because the form wasn't filled out correctly, or the person got their ballot from table 1A, they filled it out, and then promptly walked over to the gray ballot box in 1B and put it in there, and the vote doesn't count. What I've always said to people is if, in fact, when you're closing at the end of the night and you find a 1B in your 1A ballot box, walk it back over to that person in 1A, and that person's vote will count. But almost 1,500 votes didn't count because it got put in the wrong box or the form wasn't filled out correctly. So let's see what we can do to get that number better this time and walk through this form. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the 5 things that the voter needs to fill out. Then we're going to start back up at the top, and I'll show you the 8 things that the election officials yourselves need to fill out as well in order for this thing to be valid. All right? So someone pointed out to me not too long ago that the thing that needs to be filled out by the voter are the shaded areas of the form. We've all filled out forms before, mortgage applications, car loans, what have you. This is pretty much the same as filling out any form. So if you're on that front page and you see where it says number 1, and the first thing I want you to put a number 1, you see where I have mine right over the top of that, is printed name of the voter. So that's the first thing that the voter, right there on the line where it says number 1, and put a big 1 there. So the voter's name is the first thing. The second thing we're going to need from that voter is their current address. So if you drop down to about a third of the way down the form, it says current and new address. I put a big 2 over that shaded area, and that reminds me that that's the second thing that the voter needs to fill out when they're filling this out on election day. What's the third thing that we need to fill out? The third thing is right in the middle of the page, the reason for voting a provisional ballot. One of those boxes the voter needs to check. Maybe they don't have ID, maybe they changed their address, maybe they got married and changed their name. So I put a big 3 over the middle of that where it says voting, reason for voting a provisional ballot. So we've got name, address, and reason for voting that provisional ballot, right? What's the fourth thing the voter needs to fill out? The form of identification provided, right? Now 9 times out of 10, they're going to give you their driver's license. So if you see those 8 shaded blocks to the right-hand side where it says Ohio driver's license, put a 4, put over, and what's the first thing that you need to fill out on the back side of this? Well, that shaded area is the voter's name. They may put that in there themselves. That's okay, but because you're the experts on the form, you're going to know to fill it out. So put a D right on there. And remember, this is your template. When you get the blank, I'm going to give everybody a blank envelope at the end of the class, and I'm going to expect you to fill it out completely. All you have to do is use your A, B, C's, and D's, and your 1, 2, 3s, 4s, and 5s, fill out the blank one. It's easy. So we've got D. Let's look at the E section. You see where it says number 2, the election official must check the following true statement concerning ID provided by the provisional voter, if any. you're going to correspondingly, say they gave you a utility bill. You're going to flip this thing over and you're going to check where it says utility bill. So one of these boxes in this second section needs to be checked. So put a big E to remind yourself that one of those sections needs to be checked.
Just one box will be, that's all you have to do.
One box is really all that needs to be checked, and more often than not, they're going to give you their driver's license, so you're probably going to check that one. So that's section E. Only two more things you need to fill out, where it says precinct at the bottom, and where it has your signature again as the witnessing election official. So put an F where it says name of precinct, and then put a G where it says signature of witnessing official. Now I know it says on the line where I told you to write F, name of precinct, that it just has the precincts there, but you're still going to be expected to write city, ward, and precinct on there, okay? So again, parenthetically, it's not a bad idea to write there right on the line, city, ward, and precinct, just to remind yourself that that's the common way that the board accepts that. And that's on number F right there.
So would you write like North Olmsted,
Sure, whichever precinct you're going to be in, that's correct.
3C, or?
Exactly.
Those were the words you'd put on there?
Those are the words I would put on there.
Except that he's gonna give you something, so don't put it,
Yeah.
it might not be that.
Okay? So 8 things that you need to fill out as the judge, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the voter. Yes?
Do you have to, like, if you're in North Olmsted, spell out North Olmsted, or do you just?
I think
put
NO is acceptable.
Okay.
I know people in Rocky River write RR on there,
Okay.
because I don't believe there's any other
That's
NO.
what I wondered.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And again, if it's on there twice, they're probably gonna know where it's coming from, okay?
Your signature goes here, but that's it.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the front of the voter, A, B through G on the back for the witnessing election official. That's all you have to fill out. And as I said, save this, and at the test, at the end of the class, all you have to do is copy the sections and make sure that they're all complete. And I will give you the voter information, the voter's address, what city they're in, his driver's license number, all of the different variables for the voter. And then the rest of it, you're going to fill out with your own information. You're going to sign this form with your own name as the witnessing election official, right?
Right.
Good.
And
Okay.
And the same day and everything is today?
Write over those shaded blocks for me, and that's where you're going to write the person's driver's license number. And the nomenclature for Ohio State driver's licenses is always the same. It's alpha, alpha, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 2 letters and then 6 numeric characters. So number 4, right over there. What's the 5th and final thing the voter needs to put on this form? They need to sign it. So drop down to the bottom of the page where it's that shaded area towards the bottom, and it says signature of voter, and put a 5 over that block where it says signature of voter. See where I've got that 5 right there? Good. So those are really the only 5 things that the voter needs to fill out. Now, switch hats, pretend you're not the voter any longer, and now you're back to yourselves as the election day officials. So you're going to proof to make sure that that voter has all of that stuff in there, and then you're going to begin processing it for the Board of Elections information that is required. And I wish they wouldn't stamp this big sample across the top, because it makes it hard to see. But what I'd like you to do is look in the upper left-hand corner of this where it reads voters' new or current city, ward, or precinct. You see that block in the upper left-hand corner? Put a big A over that. We're going to use letters instead of numbers this time to differentiate between what the voter does and what the election official does. So a big A over the top of that. And the thing to also remember, whenever they have city, ward, and precinct on there, they always want the city to be first, then the ward. So this would be North Olmsted 1A, or it would be Cleveland 1A, or Brecksville 1A. And the problem is frequently people get accustomed to the fact that they're always working in a polling location and you have 1A, 1B, 1C. Well, guess what? There are dozens, if not hundreds of 1As,